welcome back. We are on day 20 of our 30 watercolor tips and tricks series here, and so we're starting to really see some progress on the calendar. I hope you're starting to feel really good. These things should be starting to accumulate and build upon each other, and I hope that while you're working on things, you're just starting to feel better. Today we are going to be doing something called stippling, and I think it's going to be so fun. It's going to look something like this. You can see it is a very sort of different technique, but I think one you're going to really love. And so before we get into our supplies, let's make sure we have something good to drink. Look at my cute new mug. I forgot I got it and I found it this morning. I have a candle. We are ready to go, making our spaces lovely just for ourselves. And we're going to get into supplies for a moment and start from there. So you need some watercolor paints. These are mine today. And either a towel or a paper towel. You're going to need, I like to use a size 10 round watercolor brush. I use it for everything, almost everything, but really a lot. And then we're going to need a pencil, a kneaded eraser. Kneaded erasers, kind of like you can't beat them. They're like $3. They're a good one. What else? We need a 3" by 3" square of, this is cold pressed Canson watercolor paper, and that's the kind I always use. What else are we going to need today? Not that much else, and the sketch isn't long. You'll get to practice this one several times within our normal amount of time, I think, if you choose to do so. So I think that's it for our supplies, really. And let's get into it. We're going to start reading about stippling. So we're on day 20. If you have your little booklet, if you need to find how to print these out, they're on our day 0 prep video. And it says stippling. Stippling involves applying many small dots to create texture and saturated color. They can be applied in a neat and tidy pattern, or they can overlap in a more free-form way. And I think that's an interesting part of them. So since I learned watercolor and I don't have as much knowledge in other mediums, I heard someone talking about stippling with pen, and I was like, what's that? And I looked at how they did it, and it was like very orderly and neat, kind of like hatching and cross hatching, how you could take ink or a pencil or whatever, a marker, and you could do a couple lines and then more lines another direction and more lines another direction in order to create shading. And you could do the same thing with stippling with ink or with whatever else. It doesn't matter what medium, but it's a little bit different with watercolor, and I love it. I think you're going to love it too. So we'll talk about that today. So I already showed you kind of like what this is going to look like and how we get sort of roundness and depth using our paint and stippling. And just wanted to show you for fun is that this is another one that I teach, and I actually do have this one. I have like just 2 online little classes on my website. They're $20 to like take and do this one. This is a 6" by 9" piece of paper, but you could do it any size that you want. And you see that we use stippling in a different way for that one. So that one's there if you want it. I think eventually I'll have more classes there, but I'm just busy with this right now. So I think that's it for supplies. Let's get started. My tea today is candy cane. I was going to have peppermint, and I found my candy cane tea, and I was so excited. So that's my big news for the day. Okay, so I was going to do it in purple, but because we recently did that plum in purple, I thought let's do another color. So you can just see a variety here, and you can choose any colors that you would like. What's important is that we get a variety of light, medium, and dark colors, just how we've been learning how that's going to help us show a highlight, some midtones, and some shadow areas. And you can see that that does really give some depth. You see their light sources are in different areas for this one. But so we're going to get into that. Just for observing, we're going to use this one. And as we do observe it, notice that this is like a big area over here that I tried to keep light. I can always add more on top of it, right, and sort of cover that up, but I can't get them back. And you'll also, I don't know if you can tell that there are 2 layers here. So this first layer they all kind of mixed and bled together. I dried the whole thing, and I went back again with 1 more layer of stippling. And so that gave me more depth because I was able to sort of assess how light and dark it was on the first round, and then go in and just establish what else I wanted that I didn't yet see on the second round. And so I've got this. Notice that, okay, we have the light, we have some medium, we have some dark. We have random spaces. Look for the white space for a moment and see what your eyes can find. They are organic shapes, right? None of them are perfect circles or squares. They are not orderly. They are not polka dots, okay? They are random organic shapes. And now look at the color. The colors are as well. They start as dots, but the dots touch each other. See, sometimes they don't. And sometimes they do, and so we get these really sort of random organic shapes. I will show you, you can see the pencil here from when we sketched it, but if I took my kneaded eraser, and this is fully dry, and I erased it, I can get rid of what isn't covered by paint, and now that's gone, so that's kind of nice too. So we're gonna get into stippling today. It's a ball, it's a circle. It can be any shape you want, but for today's sake, it is a circle of stippling plus 2 leaves where the bottom one is darker than the one on top. And you could go do ink over this leaf if you chose to, but I chose not to because I didn't want ink over my stippling. And we are going to need some kind of scrap piece of paper. You don't need it. Honestly, you do not need it. You can just do one. But every time you do more than one, you're going to improve more, right? That just kind of makes sense. But I wanted to show you stippling on this paper before we get into that. So first we'll do our sketch though. We'll get into here. Okay. And so make sure you have your little piece of paper here. And this circle, I mean, I've got space on the sides. Look at that. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to fit some leaves. I thought it had kind of a cuter floral effect with leaves than without it. It doesn't matter how you want to do it today. Now you could just do a circle with your pencil, or you could do this sort of circle that's like, how do I call what I'm doing right now? Bumpy, you know what I mean? And this just, I feel like why not do this, because you might end up covering some of them. But now I was getting too big and I had to bring it in because I need space for those leaves. So I'm kind of going like, that's probably good enough. I'll erase some lines I don't want to see. And I'll get into the leaves. For the leaves, you could turn your paper wherever you've got more space. And it could just be that sort of smiley face on one side, smiley face on the other side, sort of meeting at the edges. Or you could kind of come out and then do this sort of lightning zigzag situation here. And I'm going to do just one of those. And another one back here, and this one's just going to be smaller and kind of sticking out from behind. So, ooh, I almost don't have space, so I keep making it smaller just so it fits in there. And this, like, it's unnecessary. Do that if you want. It doesn't matter. Here we go. Something like this. I'm not too worried about it. And here I'll just decide which lines I want. I did want my lines really light this time, so if yours have gotten dark, you know, a reminder, you've got this kneaded eraser. You can literally roll it over your paper, or you can just like hit your paper like this and it'll lighten it up, or just use it as an eraser. And that is our sketch. Fastest sketch ever, right? Okay, so now I'm just gonna pull this one over and I'll try to get it so you can see both, I guess. And no, I'm not, because guess what? We don't have paint yet. Guys, I feel like you know what I'm doing better than what I'm doing by now. These are the colors of paint that I came up with. I needed something light. Remember, we just talked about values. We need something that has a lot of water in it to keep it light. We need some things that are like middle. In fact, if you cover this one and think the same color, basically I went sort of a light, sort of a medium, and a darker color. And how dark and how light is completely up to you. You will get the effect of light and shadow more, the more you sort of exaggerate it. This I added for interest. I just wanted to see another color in there. And so that was sort of like, if you're doing all purples, this might be pink. If you're doing all reds, this might be pink, or a magenta color. It could be orange, right? So it's just sort of something for interest. And so I'm going to take my brush and refresh what I have while I talk to you about how I got them. So I took, if you have my paint set, and I know you don't all have it, the 5th one up from the bottom center, I took some over here, grabbed some water and came back, and I kind of created this really just sort of nice light blue color. And notice I have a good amount of it like this. I just want to have some good puddles to work with. Now for this one, I actually think I changed the color a little, and so you can just play and see what you find. I did the next one up, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th one up, I took some of that, put it in here, and I added water again, but this time I have more paint in my puddle. That gets it a little darker, right? And I just don't want it to be like super light in color. We're looking for the medium, the mid-tone right now. So that's going to be my middle one. Now you notice this is actually a different color, and I just did that kind of for fun. So you could do these all within the same paint and just add more paint into your third puddle. But I wanted this vibrant color. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th down from the top center. And if anyone doesn't have this set, this is just a very nice, strong blue. Just look at what you've got. You could add, to adjust your blues, you could add a tiny purple into your blue or a tiny black into your blue and just kind of see with what you've got. But I've got this one. I'm adding even more. See, I got it even darker again. And now I'll clean out my brush. Make sure to watch what color your water turns on this one because it's pretty. And okay, and then I got this color here. This is one I like to make up. It's from the 4th down from the top center and the 4th up on the bottom right. So just some combo of the two. And if it's too green, you can add more of the blue. If it's too blue, you can add more of the green. So it's kind of a fun one like that. So we're going to get our puddles ready. Make sure you feel good about them. I'm working with a paper towel instead of a towel today because I came downstairs and something I kept thinking was going to happen but never did happened, which is my cat knocked over a whole thing of like green paint water all over my desk. So I used my towel to clean it up. Okay, we've got this. I'm going to start getting into stippling. So if you're still making up your puddles, you can just kind of finish that up, and then we're gonna watch what's happening here. So I'm going to start with that lightest color. Notice we're really always starting with our lightest color. And I will just go left to right because same thing, okay? I have got maybe the first third of my brush at least into this puddle. I don't have my whole brush saturated, so if you do, clean your brush and dry it. And let's see what it's not first. It's not these orderly, like that's polka dots, okay? Instead, it is touching your brush to the paper, and notice what's happening with my hand. It's like right, left, up, down. Let me get in a little bit more. Okay, and so I'm just all these, and I want them to touch and overlap to create organic shapes. Some can say stand alone, but others need to be sort of touching. I say need to be, you know, there's lots of space within that, but that's my first color. I'm taking my brush and I'm not going to clean it. I'm going to go right into my next one, just with the first third of my brush though. And I'm going to add it. Now notice what happened. It's wet. So right away it blended. All this is blended. The ones that stand alone will kind of keep that darker color. Now you needed a little bit wet for that to happen, but you could do a little bit wet, a little bit less wet than me if you'd like to. And I've gotten into that second color. I'm going to take this brush. I'm not cleaning it. I'm going right into my third puddle, but with just the first third of my brush. And I'm going to stipple again, and notice there's not really a rhyme or reason to it. Now I can go over here and add some for interest. I'm just like, where would I like to see a darker color in here? And touch it on purpose, right? Then keep going. Now I'll clean my brush because I want to get into that sort of variety color, that teal. And I want to just place some of it just because it's interesting anywhere I want. I can do it down here, see? And I think that just gave it something cool. Now mine is a little wetter than yours needs to be. It takes a while to dry when it's like this, but I do love how it blends. You could err on the side, and I think when I do mine, I'll try to do just a little bit less water. But let me show you how, like look at that. That is a lot of water, right? But it gave me these beautiful color bleeds, and I can dry it again and see what else it needs. Okay, you feel good? I'm sure you're all saying, yes, I feel so confident right now. So now I'm going to look at my puddles again. I'm just going to show you where they're at. I've used them now, right? So I might need to just add a little teeniest bit of paint to this one plus some water. You know, make sure these are still the way that you want them. And we will begin. Choose where your light source is going to be, and I'm going to keep mine top left. I just think it's easy that I kind of always do top left. And you want this to be light. So if right away your first color is darker than you want, and you can refer to the value scale from yesterday's video, if you would like to, that can be helpful to you to make sure we're staying somewhere in here, right? Let's do it. So we're just going to start Ooh, mine is a little darker than I want. Notice I just took my brush and I cleaned it. So I got some pigment out of there. I lightened it up just a hair. And I am just going to stipple. So I'm going to actually stipple. Now you can do the whole thing with a light color and then add on the medium color on top and then the third. But I think what I'll do is right here, I'm going to try to keep all that. Now I'm going to add that second color to my brush. And think about it like if this is a circle, this next one's going to wrap around it. Okay, and I'm going to start going this way. Try not to lose your light blue. Okay, and I'm just getting this. Now, I still have a whole nother layer if I want to. I mean, honestly, indefinite layers, really, to add depth if I want to. So now I'm looking for a soft, beautiful color transition while I stipple. And then I'll get about here and get into that third color. And we can do this twice if you want to. I mean, obviously you can rewind me, so you've got power. So I got into this darkest color here, and I don't want polka dots. So if I see that there's big spaces where there's just polka dots, I might just get in there and touch it with my brush. I really like how this is looking, but remember we have that sort of interest color. So we're gonna get into our teal, and I'm just gonna add some of it. I'm making sure it didn't dry up. Okay, some of it right here. Kind of green. I'm going to add some more teal or blue to it. Okay, and I'm just adding a little bit of that wherever I wanted. And maybe close one of your eyes. This is a funny trick, but like, you know, it kind of, look at it with one eye, blur your vision a little bit, see what you see. Sometimes take a picture of it real quick with your phone and look at it tiny on your phone. Those are all sort of little tricks. And at this point, okay, actually here's what I'm going to do. On this one, it was kind of touching my leaf, but in this one, it's not. So I'm going to make a little puddle of that lime green, and I'm actually going to do both leaves at the same time, because remember, I'm going to go at this whole thing with a dryer in a second, and I can just dry the whole thing and then do my next, I'll just do the dark green right on top of that one. So I'm going to take this to the dryer and we'll see what it looks like. We're now just going to look at it for a minute and think, okay, what does it need? And I noticed that I do want to see some more depth. I see a lot of lightness here. I maybe want to pull in a medium color up here a little bit, just in this section. And I do want to see that level of darkness over here, because I think this will round out my shape even better. See how it's a little flat looking here versus this one? So I'm taking kind of the tip of my brush and I'm going to get into that dark color, and I'm going to make a whole new puddle. Right away I had too much water. And so I took some of that water off. I'm getting nice into that puddle here. If you can't get it dark enough, you could add black. I don't. I just get more into that puddle. I'm going to show you how dark that puddle is. Like, look, you can hardly see through it when I move my brush around. That's how you know there's a good amount of paint in that water. Okay, so from here, I still have my puddles. I'm going to start with the darkest this time because that's what I want to see first. So stippling again, really following this outside right bottom edge and coming around. I don't want it too orderly. I was starting to get a little more orderly than I wanted. So just kind of bringing it around this way. Now I see a lot more depth. I want my edge to be a little bit more jagged. I'm bringing some of those out. And I'm going to clean my brush. Yeah, I'm going to clean my brush. Check out the color of your water in your jar right now. If you haven't, it should be really lovely. I'm going to get into my medium color and come up here. So now remember, you can adjust your water. So if you get into your medium color and you do this and it's too dark, you know, adjust your puddle and make it lighter. You're continually seeing what's happening and then adjusting and then continuing. And I wanted just a little bit more of that kind of green teal color over here. And I think I'm about done. I just want to pull it in right here. So I don't like what's on my brush is too dark. Cleaning that out. Just getting a little bit. And even just that really light color, but one more layer of it is giving me just what I need. And that's how I like it. But you're looking at yours and like, these are always going to be different. How could they be the same? Can you imagine? And so just a tiny bit more right there. And I'm looking at it through the camera, which is a helpful way. So really maybe look at it through your camera as well, because you'll see it tiny and you can see it differently. From here, we're just going to darken up this little green leaf. So I'm grabbing any color darker green, and I don't really care which one. But you can play with yours first on your palette and make sure you like it. And I'm just going to go over this shape. Now, when I want it to be spiky on the edges, I'm sort of lifting up on my brush as I sort of pull away. And I like that. If you wanted to do the detail over the top center, we're going to go from end to end, really light on the tip of your brush. And I like to pull out from the stem, or from the center vein there. If I wanted to, watch this. I'm going to take this and touch it to that blue and watch what I'll get. I don't know if we'll be able to see it or if it's going to take a little longer. Sometimes it takes longer. But what I just did was I took wet paint and touched it to wet paint. So I will likely get blue making its way sort of, and I can help it if I want, but it is wet. Look, I'll just tip it a tiny bit. Blue is going to come right down that vein a little bit. Sometimes it's slow, but it is cool to see what happens if you just watch. And so you can introduce more water if you wanted to see it quicker, or if you wanted to make sure that it happened. You can introduce just a little bit more water to make sure that it has a little path. But that's just like a fun little experiment there. And it's interesting, it always looks a little different when it dries. So if you're wanting to, I think I'll just leave today short. I don't know. I think I'm going to leave today short. But if you're wanting to, you can do several of these. This is called Stippling. Remember, I do have the class, but it is a $20. But then you can watch it as many times as you want, or with friends or whatever too. So here we go. This is it. I love it, and I hope you do too. And I'm just going to show you this one again now that we've done it, to see like the different things that you can do with stippling. See, the trees are stippling as well. And I do have a tree tutorial on here too. If you look it up, it's like, it was before Inktober. Oh my goodness, I can't believe this one. All right, so I'm gonna get out my calendar while I've got my lovely blue. And that was day 20. Here we go. Look at us go. You're 2/3 of the way. I hope you're feeling good, and I will see you tomorrow for day 21. Right? Yeah, day 21.